Hello, it's time for another episode of Discipleship Today. My name is Pastor Bob Benson. I pastor Christ Lutheran Church out in Bemis Point. We've been starting to talk about the 7 D's of discipleship. We touched on the first one last week, which was desire. You have to have a desire to disciple people, and that desire usually comes from being discipled. The second one I'd like to talk about this week is discernment. And we were having a little discussion here before recording today about what is discernment. And I looked up the definition, and reading it right off Merriam-Webster, in the Christian context, it's a perception in the absence of judgment with a view to obtaining spiritual guidance and understanding, to understanding what the Spirit is doing. The quality of being able to grasp and comprehend what is obscure to us at times, the spiritual. And I thought it was interesting in that first definition, in the absence of judgment. Without judging a situation, we're supposed to have this discernment, this spiritual discernment. And that's very difficult for us to separate our judgment and our discernment. And I'm not saying that I've got a handle on it. But I know that that's something that I need to work on. I tend to judge situations very quickly, and I think that comes from my background as a paramedic. You walk into a situation, and you have to know what's going on in the first 60 seconds that you're there. And so I judge things very, very quickly, and I've been trying to relearn that I can't do that I'm not to judge people. But there is this level of discernment, especially as we're talking about spiritual things. And we have to work on that. We can't just completely develop that within ourselves. I think that's something that we have to ask God for. And God, who loves to give liberally, will give us that kind of discernment. When we're walking closely with the Spirit, I think that's when we start to get that spiritual discernment where we can discern spirits and we can kind of know in the background what's going on and what God's doing. But so many times we jump right to the judgment portion of it. And we got to be careful. We have been called to be fruit inspectors, and that usually pours out of people's life. It used to be an old saying when computers first came around: garbage in, garbage out. We want to make sure that we're not putting any garbage in, so we're not getting garbage out. And that's a good thing to think of as in our spiritual life. What are we putting in, and what are we expecting to come out? So I would tell you that you've got to have a level of discernment, and to do that, you've got to be in tune, walking with God, and asking Him for it. Ultimately, discernment comes from God through our relationship, through His Son, Jesus Christ. I would encourage you today to think about desire and discernment as you mentor others, as you disciple others, as you walk alongside others. So for Discipleship Today, my name is Pastor Bob Benson. Thank you for taking the time to watch.